Jak X Combat Racing is the fourth game in the Jak and Daxter series. It takes a drastic turn from traditional platforming elements of the franchise and allows you to race and, well, combat. There's a deep story associated with the single-player mode that picks up where the previous game left off. Ultimately, you end up being forced to compete in something called the Cross City Grand Championship in order to save your own life. You can compete in the single-player or a number of different multiplayer games and unlock additional races, drivers, vehicles, and other cool secret stuff. Although the game is a racing game at heart, there are a ton of other modes which allow you to obtain very different objectives, whether it's to defeat opponents, collect objects, or beat the clock. There's a lot about the game that's fun, especially the non-racing challenges, because the standard racing ends up feeling a little bit like Burnout but not quite as smooth, particularly when it comes to the physics in the later vehicles. The game has a great sense of humor and style, and you really feel a sense of accomplishment unlocking all of the secrets and getting 100% in the single-player mode. The multiplayer is particularly strong. There are a number of options to customize the races, and you can keep statistics as well as track of favorite opponents and even have your own clan. The game is surprisingly just like Jak and Daxter, except that you've traded in your feet for a set of wheels, and it looks just as good and smooth as the previous games in the series. There are the same elements of humor throughout and a lot of reference to previously established story. You won't have to have played the early games in the story to appreciate this one, but you might feel like you're missing out on a lot of the inside jokes if you haven't. The later cars aren't as good as the earlier ones, and you shouldn't be surprised if you end up using a low-end car in the last cup, simply because it handles so much better and isn't significantly slower. The game does feel monotonous at times, mostly because there are so many races and so few environments. There are a number of different tracks, but there are only few sceneries. You'll be playing plenty of tracks on the last cup that you played in the first. There's definitely some cool self-referential humor in the game, particularly out of the mouth of Daxter. As always, the game is excellently voiced and well animated. There are a lot of worthy unlockables like hidden movies, extra characters, and other cool options to accessorize your car. There are a bunch of ways to adapt your car, and this ends up being very rewarding, whether it's changing the color through a complete color wheel or adjusting the different parts like the side panels and the roof. There aren't many games exactly like Jak X Combat Racing since it combines the elements of a few different kinds of games, such as racing and combat games. It does feel like a futuristic racer, only it doesn't quite have that sense of speed. Jak X is definitely going to appeal to fans of the franchise, although there are a few drawbacks that prevent it from being quite as good a racing game as the previous Jak games were at being a platformer. Despite a few flaws in the later levels, Jak X is a unique and interesting twist on the combat racing genre, and fans of the series in particular will enjoy playing this game.